I'm JJ.
And I'm Tyler.
We're still in the dungeon. We're still talking wine club
Cool.
wine. So on the docket is 2019 Estate Bottled Syrah. So this is our traditionally executed Syrah. We've been making varietally designated Syrah for about 20 years. We first planted Syrah at our ranch at the end of the road vineyard in the mid-90s. So we've had it for quite some time. Now, what's interesting about this wine in the context of your box as a whole is that this is a Syrah-based wine, but executed in a traditional way.
Right, with a vintage and varietal designation.
Right, so it's called Syrah. So by federal law, if you give a wine a varietal designation, you call it Syrah or Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot or whatever it may be, that wine has to be at least 75% that variety by composition.
Right, and we're bringing this up only in the context that you are also receiving Cyclops 5 and Nyx 3, right?
Yep.
Which are non-vintage wines without those constraints.
Right, and so the 2019 Syrah also obviously has a vintage designation, which means it's 2019 material. So when we were conceptualizing the idea of the Mythology series wines, we were interested in the idea of using material that was already at our disposal, but removing those blending constraints.
Right, to give us more liberty to really, cherry pick the barrels for the style that we want. Not to say one is better than the other, but they are definitely presented stylistically differently.
Right. So it's important to remember that both the Cyclops and the Nyx that are in this box have 2019 Syrah material in it.
Yeah, same parent material over our theme. Yeah.
And so all that we're doing now is we're taking Syrah and we're headlining it, and we're executing it in that traditional way where we're only including 2019 material, and we are adhering to that at least 75% varietal compositional threshold.
Sure.
And so it's a wine that I think it's important whenever you make wine and sell wine to present wines both in a traditional and familiar way, but then also do something new. And this wine kind of represents the traditional execution of this type of style.
Right,
and
so
wine.
you get that awesome side-by-side comparison with the traditional rules and without the traditional rules.
Right.
So we have Syrah planted at 2 sites. We have Syrah at our ranch at the end of the road vineyard where JJ and I grew up. Drove our dirt bikes around there, very cool site. And we also...
We're exploring terroir.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, ripping it up. And we also have Syrah planted at our Sunset Bench Estate Vineyard, which is just immediately to the west as the crow flies. What's interesting about these 2 sites is that, it's Syrah, and while it all tastes like Syrah, they really do manifest quite differently as a finished wine. Interestingly, the ranch plantings are a little bit older. Sometimes that might increase kind of the elegance and decrease the tannin load on the wines. The Sunset Bench Syrah is slightly younger. The shallower soils there really produce they're really tannic, really dense, dark wines. So it's certainly not to say, as we mentioned, that one is better than the other, but they definitely produce these different styles of wine. So our 2019 Syrah is primarily utilizing our ranch at the end of the road Syrah. Syrah is awesome because it's one of the most malleable cultivars, really in the world, but certainly in our repertoire of what we grow. By that I mean, you can plant Syrah in cool climates and really hot climates, and it will really excel in many ways because it is a malleable, easily adaptable cultivar. So more or less in the line of Kiona's house style, where we really feel that we're trying to restrain tannin extraction, the 2019 iteration of our Red Mountain Syrah, side by side compared to Cyclops 5, for example, is a little bit lighter in tannin structure and really shows that varietal characteristic that just the straight Syrah does, right?
Yeah, another interesting aspect about this wine, and kind of dovetailing with what Tyler was saying about elegance and restraint, this wine has a significant old block Cabernet component in it as well. So when we say old block, we mean that original 1975 planting that pioneered the Red Mountain AVA down here at Kiona Estate Vineyard. And those older vines, the way that it's situated on the hill, those are among the more elegant wines that we produce
Sure.
at Kiona. So that inclusion here, it's not an insignificant amount, it's 12%.
Right, and just like all the wines that we blend, we spend a lot of time and many days constructing different iterations to really determine how we want to finish that last 10% of presenting the wine and structuring it, filling out, your whole palate in your mouth. And I think this was a really fantastic example from 2019.
Yeah, cool. We hope you enjoy.
Yeah, thank you so much. Cheers.